The hype is real for these dynasty assets. They are skyrocketing up our dynasty rankings. We need to talk about what you should be doing with these assets on your dynasty fantasy football teams. Let's start with Malik Neighbors. So with Malik Neighbors specifically, he is the 5th overall player on Keep Trade Cut and the 2nd overall wide receiver. He is behind only Justin Jefferson. He's one spot ahead of Jamar Chase, who's gained a lot of value back here in the last couple of weeks. And so Malik Neighbors went from somebody who in dynasty leagues was going mostly in the 2nd and 3rd round in dynasty startups this last offseason to now he's going to be a first-round startup pick. You've also seen a pretty big shift in the landscape in superflex leagues where you have wide receivers now jumping these pocket passer quarterbacks that aren't actually giving you an advantage from a points scored standpoint. From a positional standpoint, these pocket passer quarterbacks are, I don't know, it's been kind of bad. Now, we have seen some good performances in the last couple of weeks, thankfully. Joe Burrow has had some good performances. Kirk Cousins has had some good performances, so maybe you're going to start getting some of that back.
I think they're just kind of a product of the mediocrity across the league right now.
And so that's definitely something that's going to affect the dynasty landscape. And so with Malik Neighbors in particular, this dude, we just saw last year the best rookie wide receiver season ever from Puka Nacua. And if there were somebody that was going to break that, it was going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors. And Malik Neighbors has decided, you know what? Even though he's probably not going to break the records because he's missed 2 games, now actually probably still could break the records. But even though he might not do that, he's still putting together the best rookie wide receiver season of all time. And let me highlight it with a couple different analytics here. First in target share in the league, he has a 38.2% target share. We talk about target share a lot. That is a staggering number. We chase targets, and again, 9th in targets, but he's missed 2 games, and these are still his stats, right? So first in target share. When you're looking at, he is also first in deep targets, had 11 deep targets, 3 a game, was still first in deep targets after missing 2 games. He was 5th in receptions. When you're looking at, he was 2nd in dominator rating. He was, get this, 1st in drops. We should freak out about Malik Neighbors as proof drops don't matter for fantasy football. But in terms of the opportunity and the production, Malik Neighbors has been on another planet. And so in terms of his dynasty value, there's you basically just hit the jackpot if you have Malik Neighbors on your team. This is we talk about small value wins over making multiple trades in dynasty leagues, and with Malik Neighbors, this is a big value win. This is probably the worst situation that Malik Neighbors is going to be in the next 10 years. I don't know how it gets much worse than this. Daniel Jones is his quarterback. The Giants are bad. They're kind of dysfunctional as a team right now. And you still have Malik Neighbors dropping wide receiver 1 numbers and having a 38% target share.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people may say, okay, what if they draft a wide? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if they draft somebody. Doesn't matter if they draft a quarterback. It's good. If they actually change their head coach, it's good. There is not a scenario where you have Malik Neighbors in a worse situation than he does now, and he is a first-round dynasty startup pick as a receiver. Jamar Chase has been a first-round dynasty startup wide receiver for 4 years now. Ever since he was a rookie, right? Mm-hmm. After Jamar Chase's rookie season, you've seen him, even though he hasn't done what he did in his rookie season, he's just maintained.
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors will be a first-round dynasty startup pick
for the next 5 to 7 years.
There is zero reason ever to trade Malik Neighbors unless you are the hardest rebuild where you have no other assets and you absolutely have to down tier. Yeah. Outside of that fringe scenario, Malik Neighbors is incredible. He is potentially the dynasty wide receiver 1 or 2. I look, Jefferson's still Jefferson, but in terms of Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, all that, Malik Neighbors, we knew that the talent profile was there. He was a top 10 pick. And in dynasty, you have your cornerstone. You're building your team around this guy right here.
Yeah.
A guy that you didn't have to spend a first round dynasty pick on him like you do in next year's drafts. You got him at 3rd round dynasty pick, so you might have a Josh Allen, and then somebody in the 2nd round like a Jahmyr Gibbs, and then Malik Neighbors is now the most valuable player on that team.
Yeah, well, think about it, too. In the quarterback class next year, it is not as talented as we saw in 2024, so I think you're going to see a number of quarterbacks that are kind of worthy of being drafted in the range that the Giants are probably going to draft, which is right smack in the middle of the 1st round, right? They're pretty mediocre, and they're going to be very tempted to move on from Daniel Jones, or at least draft a quarterback and develop him behind Jones while he is living out the remaining days on his contract if they really want to pick up his 3rd and 4th year option. But look, at the end of the day, you're looking at this and you're looking at our dynasty rankings even towards the end of the year. And I think as we get further and further away from the start of the season and our rankings adjusting based on pretty much production alone, and you start looking at the long-term outlook of all these players, I think for me, like Malik Neighbors is trending to be my wide receiver 2 in dynasty. Yeah, second only to Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
So that's just where I'm at because he is truly quarterback proof, and he's quarterback proof as a rookie.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So another guy that has been truly impressive, that honestly ended up being one of the better value picks in Dynasty rookie drafts last year was Brock Bowers. And we're going to talk about some non-rookies in here as well. But Brock Bowers, we got to mention him here because he has just been so impressive. Easily the tight end one now in this atrocious landscape. He has skyrocketed up boards. He is now, according to Keep Trade Cut, the tight end one, obviously, and is going in the middle of the second round, middle to the end of the second round. And you're going to see that pretty consistently, I think, heading into the 2025 season. There are multiple reasons for this. One, obviously, being the production. Two, I think that there's going to be some wholesale change in Vegas next year. And Brock Bowers is going to benefit from that. They're going to probably invest in a quarterback, whether that's through free agency, paying top dollar, or drafting a quarterback in next year's class. They're going to be towards the bottom. And you're just going to see a ton of turnover on that roster overall. And Brock Bowers is going to benefit. Doesn't matter how it's cut, where they actually end up making all these changes. But like at the end of the day, Devontae Adams will be gone. Brock Bowers will be the number one option, the top option. And Jacoby Myers is competent enough of a wide receiver to kind of help open up the field for Brock Bowers and what he's able to do from a production perspective. When you're looking at what he has done so far to date,
Going into yesterday's game, he
was the tight end one.
Well, he was the leader in tight end yards and tight end receptions on the season.
Yeah, averaging just under 14 points per game. He is on pace to have over 1,000 receiving yards, very Kyle Pitts-esque. And he's only had one receiving touchdown so far. So you're looking at his targets and receptions, 46 targets, 37 receptions. His target rate, third among tight ends. His target rate has been 31%. When he's on the field, he is being targeted 1 in 3 times that he's on the field. That is stupid. That's absolutely stupid, especially when you're taking Michael Mayer into account, right? Because Michael Mayer, you were a bit worried heading into Bowers' rookie season. You were like, how much snap share and opportunity is Michael Mayer potentially going to take away from Bowers as a rookie that could ultimately, hurt his production? It doesn't matter.
Nope.
Doesn't matter.
No.
Brock Bowers isn't even utilized like that. Like he is their gadget. He's their gadget guy. He's their luxury item where you can put him anywhere on the field and he's going to be productive. His average depth of target is 6.1. So he's very quarterback friendly, meaning it doesn't matter what quarterback is playing for the Raiders next year. He's going to be productive regardless. He doesn't require high level quarterback play to be productive. Again, we've already seen that through the first 6 weeks of his career. He's outproducing every other tight end in the league right now, outside of, I think, like George Kittle, who's been unbelievable, but, it's George Kittle. So with Brock Bowers, I think at the moment his price is definitely merited going in the mid-second round, late second round. I do kind of want to touch on that price, though, a little bit because I would not go as far as saying I'm not telling you to sell Brock Bowers because at this point, I think his upside and his ceiling is second to none at the tight end position in Dynasty. Are you comfortable investing in a tight end in the second round when you're doing startup drafts in Dynasty next year?
I mean, you've seen over the last couple of years, the guys who have been going that high in Dynasty startup drafts have been Kyle Pitts. They've been at times Mark Andrews, and then you had Sam Laporta. And all three of those guys have lost value in a pretty significant manner. You have Sam Laporta sliding down and actually being a follower on Keep Trade Cut recently. But keep in mind, and this is data that I'm starting to wonder if it's a little bit old. Sam Laporta still is the 28th overall ranked player on Keep Trade Cut with a tight end premium on, and his dynasty value still does have him as the tight end too, even though he's been passed by Brock Bowers, and so they do maintain their value fairly well. They have less value elasticity than other positions, and so because of that, I think it's probably fine. You haven't taken, I mean, again, if he's 28th overall right now, like when you're looking at his overall in terms of overall rank. He was as high as, in the offseason, it looks like as high as 23 or 24, and he's at like 38 now, it looks like. So, and that's with no tight end premium on. And so he's lost, you could probably say he's lost 25, 30% of his value. That's not a huge loss compared to given the fact that he really hasn't done anything this season at all. And so I think I am still comfortable with it. I do think we've learned taking shots on wide receivers is more important in these middle rounds of Dynasty drafts because you have guys like the guy I'm going to talk about next that are clearly the number one pick in terms of like you should take shots on them just for their upside, especially rookies. And I'm going to kind of pivot now to another rookie, a rookie that's kind of getting the opposite amount of opportunity that Malik Neighbors is. Analyzing the market in Dynasty is one of the most important parts of playing the game. We all know this is why we do videos like this. We talk about guys like Malik Neighbors, like Brock Bowers. And one of the ways that we help you do that is through our team blueprints. We help you navigate this market and tell you which players on your team you should sell high on, which ones you should buy low on other teams, how you should be making your moves. We give you all of that, your 3-year outlook, when you should rebuild, when you should contend. A lot of times it's a guessing game. We take the guessing part out of it. We help you establish a plan. And Dynasty, you play so much better in Dynasty, and your teams end up so much better when you have a plan with an end goal in mind that you are making moves towards. And that's what we help you do. Establish the plan, make your moves, win at Dynasty. Flockfantasy.com/domain. Use code domain, choose the annual Motherflocker tier, and you actually get a free team blueprint, as well as the My Teams. You get the trade calculator, you get our exclusive Discord, and more. It comes with a ton, but you get a free team blueprint. That's the best value. You can also buy team blueprints a la carte if you just want the blueprint, but I would recommend getting the site because, again, that's where we hang out. That's where our community is. And also you get a ton of tools and features there. So like I said, links in the pinned comment and also in the description, but flockfantasy.com/domain. Come get a team blueprint. We'll sit down and review your Dynasty team. But let's get back to it. This guy is 26th in the league in targets. He's 40th in target share. He's 57th in snap share. He's 37th in routes run. Yet this guy is still 8th in the league in yards per route run. He is 8th in the league in yards per reception. He's 11th in the league in yards per target. He's 5th in the league in average cushion. So you look at that and you say, okay, this guy's probably going to be speed guy, slot guy, route runner. He gets a lot of cushion. It surely can't be 6'3", 210 Brian Thomas, right? I need to say this from an efficiency standpoint. Also 10th in yak, by the way, 9th in receiving yards, 12th in touchdowns. The dude has done more with little opportunity than I've seen out of a rookie wide receiver in a while. He is on one of the worst, if not the worst offense in the league. And in terms of where he's being valued right now in Dynasty Fantasy Football, I just moved him. I'm kind of moving my rankings around while we're doing this video. I just moved him up to 12 in my Dynasty rankings. I moved him above Rome Odunze, Tyreek Hill, Chris Olave, even Rashee Rice with the injury, DK Metcalf. And so he is now a top 12 Dynasty wide receiver for me. On Keep Trade Cut, he's the wide receiver 8. So I obviously have him 4 spots lower than what the community says that he's at. But this, to me, he's being valued around Marv, Nico, AJ Brown, Drake London, Puka Nacua. I have no issue with this. There's no way in absolute heck I'm selling Brian Thomas.
Really?
Because I know what's coming. Because I am old enough to remember, because I'm older than 4 months old, I was very high on Brian Thomas Jr. coming into the year, and you were like
4 months old.
Well, actually, no. And Brian Thomas has increased his dynasty value by a lot. So I'll let you get your. I'm going to sell Brian Thomas out of the way, and then I'm going to come back over.
So first of all, well, can you break down your reasoning for why, outside of the injury, why you're taking Brian Thomas over Rashee Rice?
Because
Brian Thomas, from a production perspective this year, is probably going to be pretty inconsistent.
Who's a better football player? Who's a better player? Which one's a better player and which one's playing with Patrick Mahomes? Brian Thomas Jr. was a much better prospect, and he is a more versatile player. The dude is an athletic specimen, and he's also a specimen in the sense that he's more versatile than Rashee Rice is. And I'm a Rashee Rice fan, but absolutely I will take the guy who, with Rashee Rice, yeah, he's going to be coming off of this really bad injury that could have been worse, but it's still bad. But also, he is going to get suspended. We were putting it off because it's next year, it doesn't matter. But when you stack those two things on top of each other, dude may miss half a year. You might be talking about you're missing a whole year, maybe a year and a half of production where you're going to have Brian Thomas the entire time. Brian Thomas is younger. Brian Thomas is eventually going to get a better situation. When they get a new offensive coordinator in there, Brian Thomas is going to be, again, if you put Brian Thomas in Rashee Rice's spot, who I mean, they're different players.
Duh, of course you take Brian Thomas with Patrick Mahomes.
But that's what I'm saying.
We're playing fantasy football. We're
well, one guy's available for the next year.
I mean,
the other one's not.
If you were playing the talent game and everything was just based off of talent and the value of dynasty players, then you would have. I mean, Deebo Samuel's one of the most talented, versatile guys in the NFL. But
sure,
he's
but
not
we're playing
the dynasty wide receiver one.
Brian Thomas Jr. turned 22 like yesterday. Right. The dude is young, efficient, producing. He is producing on the worst situation he could have. This is absolute cheeks. Once they fire Doug Peterson, his situation is going to be better. He went at 123 in the draft. He is better than that.
Yeah, no, he is.
He is better than that. I thought he was better than that. I thought he was the clear wide receiver 3 from a talent standpoint. Well, I mean, Rome Odunze, okay, wide receiver 4. from a talent standpoint in this draft. And so I've always believed in the talent, but now he's producing in, you have to admit, the Jags are probably the worst situation in the NFL right now.
Exactly.
Exactly what?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of unknowns with the Jags, and I do think number one, there is the unknowns. Number two, not only are they bad now, this is assuming that it's going to get better from here on out when Sean Connor's their owner.
How could it get worse, though?
Number three, well, they could bring Christian Kirk back, which is debatable whether that helps or hurts him. It depends. But to me, I think it's up in the air enough. And when you're looking at his production, like you said, the efficiency and how he's been able to be productive with the amount of work that he's actually gotten is really impressive. It's impressive from like an explosive play perspective where he's averaging 17 yards per reception. Yeah. And now we've seen 2 straight years of guys that have done this type of production in Brandon Ayuk and Jalen Waddle. Now 2 straight years where both of them have fallen off significantly.
You conveniently left out Nico Collins from that argument, but I mean there are plenty of guys that do make their living off of this. But again, with those guys, it's a little bit different. With Waddle, he has Tyreek Hill in his offense, right? With Brandon Ayuk, he's playing with Debo and Kittle and Christian McCaffrey. Not this year, but he's playing with Debo. I mean, but even just playing with Debo is a big thing for Brandon Ayuk. And the other thing is, Brian Thomas is better than Brandon Ayuk is. He just is. He's just a better player.
Yeah.
He's an athletic freak. He is big. He has big playability. He's efficient. He's, again, the situation.
You're very fired up about this.
Well, because I got crap before the season about Brian Thomas and telling people to trade for him. And you were like, I don't think we should be trading for Brian Thomas. And then he gained all this value, and now you're saying to sell him. Like just give the man his flowers.
I am giving him his flowers.
Amazing. He is really, really good. I think he is as, I think he could be.
I was just texting you last week. I was like, holy crap, this guy is so good. Like,
well, that's
very,
why.
very
look,
good.
and I don't think.
What I'm telling you is like there.
Nice.
Yeah. Right. The quarterback landscape is going to change in superflex formats. It already is changing right now. We've already pre-established that. Wide receivers are going to continue to be pushed up boards because wide receiver 20 is more valuable than quarterback 10.
That's already happened.
It's seemed like.
Yep.
So I think that's been established. That said, we are continually, and we've touched on this before as well with wide receivers, we are continually being injected with more and more wide receiver talent every single year, where there's just more and more and more and more and more good wide receivers that are really, really, really good and really, really talented.
Sure.
And what ends up being the deciding factor between who's wide receiver 10 versus who's wide receiver 32, it really is situationally dependent because there's such a large landscape.
But Malik Neighbors, we just talked about, he has one of the worst situations in the NFL.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't say Brian Thomas is Malik Neighbors personally.
No, he's not Malik Neighbors, but acting like he can't. But acting like Malik, that rule can't apply to Malik Neighbors, but it has to apply to Brian Thomas. I think is kind of silly because Brian Thomas is good.
I would put them on different tiers.
Situationally,
talent wise.
Okay, maybe. Yeah, you have Malik Neighbors as one of the best wide receiver talents to come out in recent years, but Brian Thomas is one tier below that? Like, Brian Thomas would have been the wide receiver 1 in multiple of the last couple classes.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, just because he's not the wide receiver 1 in his class, just because he's not Malik Neighbors doesn't mean he can't be, CeeDee Lamb. Doesn't mean he can't, I mean, like, and just because he's not Justin Jefferson doesn't mean he can't be Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, in terms of their value. There are those guys that aren't 1, but they're also not 30. And if he's doing this in this bad a situation, I think again, So you're looking
at your wide receiver rankings right now. You've got your core 8 that are Jay Jeff, Malik Neighbors, Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, Marvin Harrison, Nico Collins,
Puka.
Every single one of those guys, you're taking over Brian Thomas, right?
Correct.
And then you get to this big fat tier of AJ Brown. I'm taking AJ Brown. Drake London. I'm taking Drake London.
Same tier.
Garrett Wilson. Honestly, at this point, I don't even know. Jaden Reed has skyrocketed up boards. I think he's in the same tier. Devonta Smith, because of floor alone, is in the same tier. Rashee Rice, he tore his ACL.
You jumped down a tier
or whatever.
Brian Thomas is like Drake London-esque for me. You've got Drake London, AJ Brown, and then maybe Tyreek Hill and Rome Odunze, but like he's in that tier. And then for me, then you go down to Chris Olave, Rashee Rice, DK Metcalf, Devonta Smith, Jaden Reed. Because I think, I'll be honest with you, I think two things, like Jaden Reed in particular, like I
See,
can
just
nitpick
like
all those guys.
look at this. Look at the quantity. Luke, if you can put this up on the screen, look at the quantity of wide receivers that we're even playing with. The more I scroll down, I'm like, he's been a wide receiver 1. He's been a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 1. All of these guys, and the fluctuation is just insane. Like DK, Devonta Smith, Rashee Rice, DJ Moore, Brandon Ayuk, Tyreek Hill, Higgins, Jalen Waddle, Chris Godwin. I'm going as far down as Chris Godwin and Deebo Samuel. They're older, which is why they're so low. But you get what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, I just feel like it just kind of worries me because, like you said, the situation is so bad now. The Jags have done absolutely nothing in the past to indicate that it's going to get any better. And I would hope that Brian Thomas is able to transcend that situation. But when you're talking about fantasy football production, you might say that AJ Brown's in the same tier. I'm taking AJ Brown all day because regardless of situation, he's much more productive.
You're right. You probably do
saying?
take AJ Brown pretty clearly over Brian Thomas, and maybe with Drake London, how he's been playing, you take him over. But like when I'm looking at Brian Thomas versus Tyreek, I see a pretty good argument to take Tyreek. Brian Thomas.
Rome Odunze or Brian Thomas, 100% taking Brian Thomas.
Yeah, well,
like that's just where I'm at right now because of DJ Moore.
After Brian Thomas. Like I think Brian Thomas is maybe the last guy. Like
interesting. I think there are some guys that you're saying after the teardrop that I think should be included in that tier, if not ranked above. Like I think even with the injury, I'm still sold on Rashee Rice. The dude was going to be a top 4 wide receiver this year. You've got other guys down here as well.
Rashee Rice would be would be right here with Brian Thomas, probably ranked back to back with him if he wasn't going to miss the next year and a half.
Yeah.
So like for me, I do. And that's half of.
And again,
we talk about 3-year windows. That's half of a 3-year window. So that's
also
significant.
Not anti Brian Thomas, but like very similar to like a Drake London that we've liked for a while as a talent. And no, Desmond Ridder isn't throwing him the ball, but like, what if the situation doesn't get any better next year and his production ends up staying the same or stagnant? We also have 2/3 of the season left to see what Brian Thomas does. So I could totally change my opinion based on this, but it doesn't look like it's going to get any better in Jacksonville anytime soon. So
again, to close this off, I don't see how it could get worse. I think it can only get better.
Yeah.
Yes, you said today Doug Peterson was going to get fired today, and I told you he wouldn't, and of course they didn't fire him, right? So there is the aspect of
are they competent as an organization?
But he still produced. He still was a wide receiver 1 coming into this week. He's the wide receiver 8. Like, that's why I'm like, holy crap. Because I knew he was that level of prospect, but for him to come out right away and produce, like, that's why I'm sold. So anyways, you can let us know what you think about Brian Thomas in the comments. That was a nice little discussion there.
Yeah.
And let's go on to our next guy here that you've got.
Yeah, so the next guy, I don't know, I've switched up the list so much. Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams has been a fun conversation this year, and I know a lot of people are going to come back and dunk on us. Number one, we don't get all of our takes correct. So, yes, we were wrong about Jameson Williams and his value.
No. Let me say that again. We were wrong. We're again, people.
We're wrong all the time.
We're wrong a lot. Like, you don't hit on every take in fantasy football. Otherwise, we just have a time machine. We're like, look, let's look in the crystal ball. No, there's no crystal ball. Like, we have takes. JMO, we said, sucked and wasn't going to get an increase in target volume, and he got an increase in target volume.
Here's one thing I've learned about the Detroit Lions. When they say something, they mean it. When they say David Montgomery's going to get a lot of the usage, even over Jahmyr Gibbs, they mean it. When they say that Jameson Williams pukes in practice and is going to get, more work, they mean it. Even to the expense of Sam Laporta, apparently.
I'm not going to lie to you.
Heck, I did not expect that.
No, and that was way out of left field.
Yes.
Sorry, I'll shut up and let you talk now. But I want people to know that we do, like, when we miss on takes, like, we're very happy to say that we just missed on that one. So.
Yeah, no, it's been fun to see Jameson Williams be as productive as we thought that he could be, and maybe even have a higher ceiling than this down the line. It is funny, his target rate, this is something that I will say, the way that he has been utilized has not come as a surprise. It's just the quantity of targets has been a little bit surprising, and that has truly fluctuated quite a bit. When you're looking at his game log this year so far in the first 6 weeks of the season, he's had 9 targets, 11 targets, 3, 2, and 4. 3, 2, and 4 is a lot closer to what we thought was going to happen from Jamo, but even with the 3, 2, and 4 weeks, he's had 1, 16, and 17 points. So I think what you are going to expect from Jamo is a lot of boom-bust opportunity, and I think eventually you're going to see Jamo's value really cap out to a certain point in Dynasty. Right now on Keep Trade Cut, he's currently valued as a wide receiver 27. He's back-to-back with guys like Jalen Waddle, Xavier Worthy, and Chris Godwin, Jordan Addison, Deebo Samuel, those types of guys. I think he and Xavier Worthy are very close. Honestly, with the way the offenses are looking between Detroit and Kansas City, I would prefer Jameson Williams over Xavier Worthy. That might be a hot take. I don't really think it is because I think Xavier Worthy's kind of confirmed what type of wide receiver he's going to be in that offense for the foreseeable future. Possession wide receivers like T. Higgins, Zay Flowers, Chris Godwin, I think it's kind of up to you which one you prefer. I prefer consistent production, especially when a lot of those guys' ceilings are just as high, it seems, as Jameson Williams. So to me, you're looking at his price again at wide receiver 27. He's going in the top 5 rounds right now. Towards the end of the 5th round, you'll probably see him fall into the 6-ish rounds when it's all said and done, probably heading into 2025. I understand if you want to take him there. I still am going to stick to my guns a little bit just in how I'm going to approach Jameson Williams' value, especially what it is now. I was wrong in telling him to sell him telling you to sell him for cheaper earlier. I don't think I'm going to be super wrong in telling you I would probably recommend pivoting off of Jameson Williams at this price, especially because this, in my opinion, is like the ceiling of his value because Amon-Ra St. Brown is still there, because David Montgomery just signed an extension, because Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be there for the foreseeable future, and because Sam Laporta is probably going to be like between what he did last year versus what he's doing now is going to be somewhere in the middle, and that is going to make Jameson Williams very boom bust, I think. So that's just my opinion. I don't really think about it.
I agree. And I think if you have JMO and you're like, yeah, you guys missed on JMO before, so why would I listen to it and sell him now? I honestly don't blame you. That said, in Superflex League, he's being valued right now next to Trevor Lawrence on Keep Trade Cut. So I probably would still take Lawrence in a Superflex League. Worthy, I agree with you. I would take JMO over him pretty easily. You've got guys.
That's more of a Worthy issue, though.
It is, and it's just the type of player that he is. JMO was a better prospect than Xavier Worthy was.
Yes.
He was. He had the burner speed, but he also was just a very good wide receiver from a skill set standpoint. And you will remember, if you've been around long enough, I did like Jameson Williams as a prospect a lot.
Big time.
I just thought from an analytics standpoint, there's no way he can overcome what he did in his first couple of years because it never happens. And that's why numbers are not always right. That's why I missed, is because I was way too reliant on numbers when I should have just went back to the original.
And Amon-Ra. I think a lot of people didn't expect
Laporta,
that second-year
that's what threw
jump.
me off. So,
yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up here with the quarterback and let's talk about Baker Mayfield. Dude, this is interesting to me. I mean, this is really interesting because Baker's good.
Yeah.
Like, he's good. Yeah. I'm looking at some of his advanced analytics here. And I'll cherry pick a couple. Obviously, he's 11th in the league in pass attempts, but in terms of...
You can't cherry pick. You have to give us all the information in context. Sorry. I was just being a super obscure random hater.
No, you're good.
I just felt like it.
No, you're good.
So
I just block out the haters. The haters are my motivators. So passing, in terms of...
I'm gonna like say it every day now just to tick you off, even though it's...
You're not going to tick me off. Right. In terms of how productive Baker Mayfield has been, passing yards, he's 8th in the league in passing yards through 6 weeks. He is also 1st in passing touchdowns. He has 15 touchdowns on the year, and really a year where you're not seeing a lot of touchdowns from pocket passers in the NFL. His efficiency, yards per attempt, he's 7th. He is 4th in fantasy points per dropback. He's 2nd in fantasy points per game. He's 2nd in accuracy rating. So let's get into efficiency here. 2nd in accuracy rating, 5th in true completion percentage, 8th in deep ball completion percentage, 9th in pressured completion percentage, 1st in red zone completion percentage, 1st in true passer rating, 8th in QBR, 1st in red zone accuracy rating, 3rd in clean pocket accuracy. I mean, his efficiency ratings in terms of how efficient is he as a passer, how good is he as a passer, it's ridiculous. It's insane, dude.
I know.
His metrics are amazing.
You seen him running around like Lamar Jackson too? Did you see that run that he had yesterday?
Yes, I did see that.
He got himself hurt. But
he's 1st in the league in passer rating versus zone. He's 6th in the league in completion percentage versus zone. He's 8th in passer rating versus... I mean, like, all across the board, you're looking at Baker and you're like,
he looks like the prospect that he was coming out of Oklahoma.
Which is crazy.
On a 7-year delay.
I saw a graphic the other day, and it was comparing his first, what is it now? He's in 6 or 7 year, 7 years, 7th year.
Yeah.
First 7 years in the NFL, and you know who the graphic was comparing him to?
Who?
Drew Brees. Of all people.
I cannot. I cannot. Don't even.
And they were almost dead even.
That's pretty hilarious.
It actually is pretty hilarious because he's obviously not Drew Brees.
Yeah.
But in terms of...
Also very different eras, but...
True. But, well, honestly, Drew Brees, okay, that's a whole other thing. But in terms of dynasty value for Baker Mayfield, I'm going to see where he's valued right now because he's like on the season from a production standpoint. He is the quarterback 2 on the season.
Yeah.
QB 15, buy. I will.
Is a buy.
Oh my gosh. So yes.
I think a lot of it is, again.
He's valued below Anthony Richardson. Why?
He's outproducing AR.
He's
straight up outproducing him. Rushing upside, Anthony Richardson ceiling is amazing. What rushing upside?
Justin Herbert is 3 spots above Baker.
I don't know what rushing upside they're really talking about. I think they're just full of it. So
That's really cute.
Yeah, thanks.
Justin Herbert is 3 spots ahead of Baker. Why? Why, guys? Why? He's 29. He's got 5.
You want to say why one more time?
Because I just don't.
Why?
Because why? And honestly, with Baker, like I will buy at this price. Mm-hmm. I will down tier from my top tier quarterbacks and just go get Baker and get a ton on top. Get an elite wide receiver.
So let's play some theoreticals here. Let's say that the Bucks miss the playoffs. They miss the playoffs. They go like 9-8, and the Falcons beat them out, or whoever in that division beats them out, and they don't make the playoffs. What do they do with Baker Mayfield next year? Do you think his job is in limbo? Do you think they move on? He does have an out after this year.
In that hypothetical situation, he would have to fall off the face of the earth for that to happen, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to. He just looks.
I think
good.
when you watch those games, because I'm with you, I'm just messing around. I think when you watch those games, you get this. I hate running on vibes, but like you get this feeling that, number one, it seems like the team and the offense is behind them. They look more explosive and better without Dave Canales as the offensive coordinator, who apparently was supposed to be the QB guru, according to us and a lot of people. But with Baker, where else are they going to turn? Because even if they miss out on the playoffs, and even if they start to fall off a little bit towards the end of the year, they're still stuck with him. He's their best option.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're going to be...
The quarterback landscape's too bad right now for them to walk away. Baker, again, Baker
and he's playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. Yeah.
In my opinion, I'm not even worried. In fact, I bet he gets extended.
I think that's what I would lean as well.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get an extension.
So that's why I'm going to buy, is because he's going to get more contract insulation.
When you think about it too, like... He's absolutely deserving of it, because quarterbacks that are just straight up worse than him are getting paid $50 million a year.
Better than Trevor Lawrence.
And that's just the market value prices. He is better than Trevor Lawrence.
He's objectively better than Trevor Lawrence at football.
Yes.
Like it's crazy.
I expected after the first couple of weeks of the season, when Trevor Lawrence plummeted, to like just throw a fit about Lawrence and tell everyone you're stupid for letting him fall that far. And I was like, gosh, he honestly kind of sucks. Yeah. Like he's just very inconsistent, and he doesn't look any better than last year.
No, I thought he was going to be better, but again,
I think at this point, like Baker has been a guy that we've never really been high on, and have thought that he's been overvalued heading into this year. Really thought that Canales leaving was going to result in a Geno Smith type fall off from 22 to 23. It just hasn't happened.
Yeah,
our projection was incorrect.
Yes, it was.
So at this point, with the questions of the contract, I don't think it really matters, because at this point, even half of the quarterbacks with multi-year deals, their jobs seem to be long-term in jeopardy just as much as Baker Mayfield's could be, because they're not playing good football.
And the Bucs are a fairly well-run organization.
Yeah,
they're going to be smart about it. So.
They'll be good.
There you go. There are 5 players that have gone way up in Dynasty value that we ended up talking about a lot. This is what we do. We ramble about Dynasty, but as you can see, we're very happy to be talking about Dynasty Fantasy Football. So
it's so refreshing.
If you play Dynasty,
nice.
Make sure you drop a like and make sure you're subscribed, because again, you're going to want the highest quality Dynasty Fantasy Football content to help you win your leagues you could possibly get, and we are striven to help you get that on our channel. And so make sure you're subscribed as well if you play Dynasty. But Team Blueprints, flockfantasy.com/domain. Like I mentioned, so like I said, make sure you use code domain and the links in the pinned comment if you want to see a blueprint from us. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you later.